jagged peaks of the Appalachians, a thin silver crescent cutting through the thickening fog like a blade. It was meant to be nothing more than a weekend escape. 3 friends ditching the city noise for fresh air and a couple of summits. Mark, the big ex-Marine whose laugh could rattle branches, Sarah, the photographer who chased every interesting angle, and Jake, the quiet one who trusted maps more than his own gut. They'd set out at first light, packs stuffed with bars and optimism. Somewhere the trail turned mean. Overgrown roots and false turns ate the afternoon, and when the sun finally bled out behind the ridges, panic set in quiet and cold. Now night had swallowed them whole. "Fog's like pea soup out here," Mark muttered, sweeping his flashlight in wild arcs. Skeletal branches snagged at their sleeves as they pushed on. Sarah shivered harder than the temperature warranted. "We should have doubled back at that last split." Jake said nothing, just kept glancing at the shadows that felt too alive, too watchful. Then something broke the trees ahead, a low, hunched shape. A hunter's cabin, logs warped and moss-eaten, looking like it had been shoved up out of the dirt years ago and forgotten. No glow in the windows, no thread of smoke, but it was walls and a roof. Shelter. "Thank God," Sarah breathed, shouldering the door open. The hinges let out a shriek that made all 3 of them flinch. Inside, flashlight beams carved through swirling dust. One rough table, a stone fireplace gone dead cold, bunks shoved against the far wall, animal pelts dangled from nails, their glass eyes catching the light and staring back empty. They dragged what furniture they could against the door, wind or something worse, and tried to make the place livable. Mark coaxed a fire from damp wood. It hissed and spat, every pop snapping their nerves like dry twigs. Jake fumbled with sleeping bags, hands unsteady. Sarah paced, light darting into corners. "Who even builds a place this far back?" she said, voice low. "It feels wrong." Midnight brought the storm. Rain pounded the tin roof like desperate fists. Thunder rolled low and hungry. They crowded near the small flames, trading half-remembered stories to keep the quiet at bay. Sleep wouldn't come. Sarah couldn't sit still. She slipped off her bunk and wandered the small room, beam sliding over everything until it snagged on something half-hidden under the table. A leather book, old and cracked, edges worn soft. She knelt, brushed dust away. The cover bore symbols that seemed to shift when she wasn't looking straight at them. "Hey, check this out," she called softly. Mark grunted, half asleep. Jake didn't move. She opened it. Pages the color of old bones, scrawled with faded ink. Latin fragments, circles and stars drawn in sharp, obsessive lines. "Some hunter's journal, maybe," she murmured. Curiosity pulled the words out of her mouth. She read them aloud, testing the sound. "Ex umbris veni, spiritus antiquus." The fire flared violently. A cold draft slammed the windows. The door banged open hard enough to rattle the walls. They all shot upright, hearts in their throats. "What the hell?" Mark roared, lunging to force it shut again. Sarah gave a shaky laugh. "Just the wind. Sorry." It wasn't. They settled back, but the chill had settled deeper. Sarah felt it first, something icy tracing the nape of her neck, slow and deliberate. She rubbed at it, told herself it was nerves. The book stayed open on her lap. The words kept calling. In the unsteady firelight, she whispered more of them, the syllables curling in her throat like smoke. Then the fire detonated in a burst of embers. Sparks rained across the floorboards. Jake yelped, slapping at his bag. "Sarah, put that damn thing down." Too late. The air turned thick, rotten. Shadows in the corners stretched and bled like spilled ink. Sarah's eyes went wide, then rolled white. Her body jerked once, twice. A voice, not hers, rasped through her lips, low and gravelly. Finally, free. She crumpled. Mark was at her side in a heartbeat. "Sarah, come on, wake up." He grabbed her shoulders. Her head snapped up, eyes pure black. A smile split her face, wrong and wide. "She's gone," the thing inside her said, voice echoing from somewhere deep. Before he could pull away, her hand, fingers curled like talons, raked down his arm. He staggered back with a curse. Jake stood frozen. "What did you do?" She moved faster than anything human. In a blink, she had the rusted knife from the wall, the one none of them had noticed before, and drove it into Mark's chest. A wet thud. Blood sprayed in a hot arc. Mark's eyes bulged. A gasp bubbled out, then nothing. He folded to the floor. Firelight played across the spreading red, throwing twisted shadows up the walls. Jake's scream tore loose. He bolted, slamming the door wide into the storm. Rain hit him like needles. He ran blind into the trees, branches lashing his face, roots grabbing at his boots. The forest felt awake, trees leaning in, vines dangling like ropes. His flashlight jerked, catching flashes, something glinting in the brush. Gone when he looked again. A branch cracked behind him like gunfire. He spun. Nothing. He collapsed against an old oak, bark rough and pitted under his palms. Breath sawed in and out. The woods closed tighter, dripping, whispering. "Jake." The voice slithered between trunks. Sarah's but warped, layered, hungry. He spun the light, empty. A twig snapped close, too close. He jumped. The flashlight clattered away, rolling to stop on a footprint in the mud. Deep, wrong, not his. He scrambled up and ran again, thorns ripping skin, lungs burning. The cold turned unnatural, grave deep. Shapes flickered at the edges, dark forms slipping between trunks. A face pressed into the bark, grinning. He tripped, slammed face first into wet leaves. Spitting dirt, he pushed up and a hand clamped his shoulder, iron cold. He screamed, twisted free. The grip vanished. Laughter rolled through the trees, soft and mocking. Deeper in, the woods became a maze. Moonlight sliced through in thin, pale bars. Footsteps padded behind him now, deliberate, patient. "Jake, come play." He broke into a small clearing. Moonlight pooled in the center like spilled blood. She stood there, Sarah, or what wore her skin. Pale as bone, eyes glowing dull, Mark's blood dark on her clothes. She cocked her head, the neck cracked sharply. Jake flinched. "You can't run," she hissed, stepping closer. Vines stirred, coiling. Roots burst from the earth and snagged his ankles. He fell hard. She was on him before he could breathe. A branch overhead snapped and dropped, missing by inches. He rolled, snatched a rock, swung. She flowed aside like smoke. Thunder cracked. Lightning bleached her face, twisted, wrong, eyes endless black. "Join us," she whispered, breath like rot. Her hands closed on his throat. Nails bit deep. The world narrowed to pressure and darkness. Shadows rushed in. Her laugh blended with the storm. Jake's last scream ripped out, raw, desperate, then cut off clean. The forest swallowed the echo. Rain kept falling. The trees stood silent, waiting.